Yo, what's up guys, it's me, the Great What If, back in a brand new video, and this is What If Deku was an assassin for hire. Now, I want to thank you all so much for your support, and I'm really sorry for not posting this much, what if content and all. And yeah, I'm going to start posting more and more. Like, I always say that, but this time I actually mean it. And yeah, I've been trying to find ways to make this more like an assassin type of thing, or more of a how Izuku's going to be an assassin. So yeah, that's what I've been working on for a couple of days. And whenever I make a what if, it will be like 45 minutes or at least 50 minutes. And once I, listened over it, I don't feel good, or like it's not feeling what I wanted to sound like. So yeah, I did a couple of it, and it didn't like much feel like what if assassin thing. So yeah, that all scrapped. So yeah, this is What If Deku was an assassin for hire. Now this is what Hasashi's going to be looking like for the series. And yeah, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I go through a lot of probably hours going through this what ifs, and yeah, it will mean a lot to me if you guys subscribed. Anyways, enough of me rattling around. Let's get right into this new what if. So we're gonna cut to Inko Midoriya at the hospital giving birth to little baby Izuku. As the doctors wrap Izuku up in a small blanket, they hand it towards Inko, and by this time, Inko feels a lot of love and compassion towards Izuku, like any normal mother would. While the doctor tells Inko that she has to stay there for at least 3 weeks, just to monitor Izuku's health and just how his growth will be. Inko understands this, and she did stay with Izuku for at least 3 weeks. After the last day of the week, the doctors told Inko that she would be able to leave the following morning. And Inko was happy because now she's be able to go home, cook, and just relax and watch TV. And, she starts to pack her things, and she called a cab to come pick her up the following morning. Once she woke up, she packed her, grabbed all her things that she packed with, waited outside with Izuku on her arm, carrying him, and got into the cab that was waiting like a couple of minutes. After they went home, they took off their luggage and just put it right next to the door. As Inko walks in carrying Izuku, she noticed a hint of coffee, an aroma in the air, and what seems to be someone cooking, which was very, very weird since no one is supposed to be in her house for at least 3 weeks, or never actually. So she's kept a spare handgun right next to their door. It was a secret compartment where, again, she keeps. Why, you may ask, why is Inko even having a gun? Well, again, her quirk is like levitation, I think it was. So she's only able to levitate small things, like small objects, probably like a gun or like a water bottle or anything, small. And this is the only way for her to feel protected. So she has few guns around the house, only a few. So Inko picks up one of her guns, a Glock, and while holding Izuku, she slowly walked in, slowly, trying to keep her sense in the air and try to be vigilant. Again, she didn't know who the hell was in her house during this time. And even if there was someone, breaking into her house, maybe Mitsuki, or let's say Mitsuki's husband would be there, watching around because they live next door. And Mitsuki's husband should have told her something around that. But she didn't care at this time. So she slowly walked in, holding her gun outwards towards her body, walking slowly in. She then noticed a white-haired man cooking. She didn't know who it was because, again, the sun was shining against her eyes. So she was a little bit nervous. So she quickly shoveled towards her side, facing the table. She just hears humming, and it seems to the guy that he doesn't know that Inko's there. Inko slowly went around and just yelled, Who the hell are you? And Sashi just drops all her things. And just, oh, what the fuck? Inko. Hey, I wanted to surprise you. Why are you holding a gun at me? Did I do something wrong? Sashi? Why the hell are you here? You didn't even tell me nothing. You didn't even call. I was about to shoot you. Sashi says, I understand that you're sad or mean right now, but calm down. Just put the gun, please. Inko just scoffs and just put down the gun on our kitchen table. Sashi then brings out eggs and fried bacon, normal things, and just puts it on the table saying, I just wanted to cook you something special. I knew you were coming today, so I thought maybe I should surprise you. It's been a long time since I came back from the office. Inko then says, yeah, make that a couple months. You left me here. And Hasashi just says, look, I'm really sorry. I really am. Just, my boss isn't letting me out of the office these days. Ever since a villain attacked, I had a lot of paperwork I need to get out. I'm sorry, Inko. I really am. Hasashi then just feels bad. Inko then just scoffs and says, fine, I forgive you, but don't do that shit ever again, alright? Come by home often. I just miss you, alright? You almost gave me a heart attack. Hasashi then says, heart attack? You almost gave me! I was cooking! And Inko's just responds saying, yeah, whatever. Well, I got little baby Izuku here. You want to meet him? Hasashi with glittering eyes and a big smile on his face, showing a little bit of his fang, saying, of course, I would love to meet little baby Izuku. So he stretched out his arms, signifying, carrying him. And Inko just carefully handed Izuku towards Hasashi. Hasashi carrying little baby Izuku, just looking at little baby Izuku, felt a lot of love towards him. He didn't know how to explain it, but it felt like fatherly love, like he wanted to protect Izuku. And Izuku slowly opened his eyes, and Hasashi noticed that he has green eyes, just like Inko. And Hasashi says, damn, he has your eyes. You might have my teeth. Inko says, oh god. And Hasashi responds saying, you might have your, aggressive tone as well. Might be the same. Inko says, responding, aggressive? Well, you're just... Never mind. Look, we need to talk. So he puts Izuku down in the couch, and Izuku right now is just partially sleeping. Inko and Hasashi sit down on a table and just continue to talk on what they've been doing for the last couple of months. Catching up with each other. This goes on for a couple hours until Inko hears Izuku crying. Once Inko gets up and just cuddles little baby Izuku, making him stop crying, it began to become late. Hasashi then says, my boss wants me to come back tomorrow morning, so I need to get on the plane later tonight. Look, I'm sorry, alright? I'm sorry I couldn't come. It's just... I'm sorry. Inko just kisses Hasashi right in the forehead, saying, it's alright, alright? I'm sorry for getting mad at you in the first place. I really am. Hasashi just holds her hand and just gets her close. Hasashi then just kisses his little, Inko for at least 2 minutes. And he just backs off, leaving Inko panting. He then puts his forehead against hers, saying that he'll always comes back, no matter what. Inko then just smiles, leaving a little tear on her face. Hasashi wipes the tear off her face, saying that wherever he goes or how far he has to go, Hasashi will always keep Inko in his mind. Inko well, blushing a little, melted her heart and just told Hasashi that he probably needs to leave sooner or later. Hasashi then says, yeah, but I'll stay for a little while. I mean, what harm could it hurt? What could it hurt? And he stayed there the following morning. As Inko's just waiting by the door, Hasashi just grabs his suitcase, puts on his suit and tie, and just slowly walks out of the house. Oh, Hazzy Brooks, shout out to you, bro. Now you're in a video. This is unexpected. So, hello. Anyways, back to the what if. As Hasashi was about to walk out, Inko just holds Hasashi's hand, and Hasashi just holds her hand. Looking at each other, peering in the eyes of each other, Hasashi says, I love you very much, Inko. Remember, no matter where I go, no matter where I must be, you will always be in my heart, Inko. Inko then cries a little, and Hasashi just gives her one last kiss goodbye, and leaves. Now we're going to cut a couple hours into the story. We're going to cut to Inko just sitting on the couch feeding Izuku while watching TV. Still a little saddened the fact that Hasashi had to leave, but understands. And hoping that maybe he might come for, Christmas or any type of festivals or anything. After watching TV, their broadcast gets interrupted into a news station. Inko didn't know what to do. She didn't know what was going on. So she listened to the news. The news then says that a hijacker has infiltrated a plane. They're trying to, talk to the person who hijacked it and see if they want anything in return, like ransom. Because now they're holding 500 hostages. And Inko just gasps, saying, no, you couldn't be on that plane. That's impossible. It's no. He's not there. The news then turned into a live stream of what's happening inside the whole compartment. It shows a man filming and sees a white-haired man trying to talk to the hijacker. Terrorist. They were wearing black mask over themselves just to not get seen or some sort, holding weapons. Hasashi was trying to talk to one of them, but they just punches Hasashi right in the face. Hasashi then tries to retaliate and tell them that they're just a bunch of cowards. And this didn't suit for one of the so-called hijackers. And just pulled out a small pocket knife and stabbed Hasashi right in the throat. As the live stream shows Hasashi bleeding out on the floor, just almost crying out, Hasashi just says, damn it, you cowards. The hijacker wanted to shoot Hasashi, but knows the risk if he shoots inside. Then the live stream cuts and goes back to the news station. The news station goes on saying that they're trying to talk to the hijacker and they sadly lost one of the hostages. Inko then, crying, holding Izuku, began to weep and weep. And Izuku started to cry. Both of them knew that Hasashi is gone. Now, we're going to cut to Izuku's little arc. As Izuku grows up, he hasn't been, paid attention that much. Inko has become depressed. Literally depressed. And the only people that she was able to talk to is actually Mitsuki. And Izuku hasn't been getting none attention at home. He's barely getting any food there as well, since she just wants to be by herself, which is really bad. And, over the years, Mitsuki has actually been, taking care of Izuku, which leaves a bad mark on Inko a lot since Mitsuki's just being the mother now. And while growing up, Bakugo and Izuku were like brothers. Ever since they were with each other, it's like they can't be apart. Like, they can't be teared apart. Whenever Bakugo leads or just walks off, Izuku's right behind Bakugo wherever he goes, no matter where or when. They grow in a brother-like bond with each other, and they promise each other that they will become heroes one day. And they were, sure enough, going to become heroes. Well, that's what Izuku thought. By the age of 5, Izuku was excited, and he wanted to know what his quirk is going to be soon, and he's just over-obsessed with All Might. But again, he's more sad that he hasn't gotten any attention from Inko. And he's just wondering when his dad is going to come home. Remember, Inko has never told Izuku that, well, his dad died. And, well, Mitsuki has always been there for Izuku, like another mother to Izuku. Izuku looks at Mitsuki as her auntie, but Mitsuki looks at Izuku as another of her own, child. As Inko has never been there for Izuku. Instead, she would just yell at Izuku and just tell him how terrible he is, and just everything that had pain inside Inko, she's inflicting that on Izuku. And instead of helping Izuku, she's just wasting him and just telling him all terrible things. At one point, she even slapped Izuku because he broke a plate. And, well, it caused Izuku to cry. One time, well, Inko, started to drink a lot. She became very much of a shitty mother. Inko, saw Izuku sleep and just stared at him sleeping. And just stared at him, not making one word. And Izuku couldn't sleep. He knows that his mom is just staring at him while he's sleeping. And he's just wondering why the hell is she, watching him. He wanted to say something, but he's just too scared. It's almost like she'll do something if Izuku stares at her. And by the age of 6, Izuku and Bakugo had become best friends. They will go everywhere together. They will even go to the park, everywhere. At school, they will hang out a lot. And Izuku became a really smart kid, supported by Bakugo and everything, and sometimes his little lackeys. Soon, they will become the greatest heroes that everyone has ever seen, and greater than All Might. And they made a promise, though they become heroes. Mitsuki took Izuku to the hospital because it's been a couple days since Bakugo, awakened his quirk. And Mitsuki was worried that she wanted to know if Izuku's going to awaken it or not. So instead of Inko taking Izuku to the doctor, Mitsuki took Izuku to the doctor. And once the doctor did tests on Izuku, they determined that he was quirkless, which saddened Izuku. He asked the doctor if he could ever become a hero, but the doctor told Izuku that he could never become a hero, and he's sorry. Mitsuki felt bad for Izuku, but then again, what could she do? All right now she could do is support Izuku. Tell him that he's probably never going to become a hero, but he could become something else, maybe a police officer or something, which really bummed out Izuku a lot. Once Mitsuki dropped off Izuku at his home, Izuku walked in and just saw his mother drinking. Izuku just said to Inko that he's quirkless and he doesn't know what to do. Inko just looks dead in the eyes of Izuku. Not that bright green, lush Inko that we all know from canon, but this dark Inko that we never seen before, a dark side of her. As Inko just gets up after drinking a couple of beer, Izuku is terrified of Inko. Inko just hits Izuku with a bottle of, beer, breaking it. Izuku is now bleeding from his skull, and it seems that, he's slowly passing out. He just got hit by a fucking glass bottle. And Inko wanted to walk away, and just saw Izuku on the floor bleeding. So Inko just left Izuku there, bleeding. Knowing what she'd done, she didn't really care. So she then started to call someone. Izuku just cried, going back to his room, still bleeding, and tried to cover it with his blanket, seeing if it could stop bleeding. Next morning, Izuku just got up, grabbed his things, and started to walk to his school. He wanted to ignore his mother, who was still on the phone for some reason, and started to walk away. He went back to his school, and while Bakugo's flashing his little quirk, Bakugo says, "Deku, do you ever quirk yet, or what?" "Well, Kachan, it seems that I'm quirkless." You can't be serious, Deku. You can't be quirkless. I'll make you a loser. I don't really want to hang out with losers. I'm sorry, Kachan, but I'm quirkless. I knew you were useless, Deku, but I didn't know you were going to be this useless. Get out of my sight. Izuku felt scared of Bakugo now. That once calm, competitive boy just turned into a madman. It's like every time Izuku looks at someone, they would just feel disgusted by him. He didn't know why. He almost felt like he was dead inside. He didn't know what to do. And at the playground, Izuku's just reading in his little book. He noticed someone crying, and Bakugo over them. Izuku put down his book on his bench and just started to get up and walk towards the person, then started to run. Izuku noticed the blood coming out of the kid's hand and stepped right in front of him, covering the boy right behind him. Kachan says, "Get out of the way, Deku." Kachan, you can't do this." "What are you gonna do, Deku?" "Huh? Fight me?" And Izuku put his hands up, shaking still, like in canon. I'll stop you." Bakugo laughs, and his laugh terrified Izuku. Bakugo then says, "If you want to be a hero so badly, then you should know how heroes feel pain." He then starts to make explosions on his hands, so his lackeys start to surround Izuku. Then they all charge at him at once and beat the crap out of him. Izuku was left there beaten, and the small kid who was crying behind Izuku ran away, not even saying thank you or sorry. As Izuku lay there lifeless, almost feeling death inside of him, slowly coming towards him. Depression. As Izuku just gets up and started to walk. He didn't want to go back to school, so he started to walk back home, knowing his mother probably is there. He didn't care anymore. So he started to walk home dangerously, and once he got home, there was two people in suits. He didn't know who they were, but Inko just says, "There, take him." The two men with suits, just grab Izuku and say, "Sorry, kid, you're coming with us." And Inko just had this look in her eyes, just saying that she just sold Izuku off. A malice kind of look. malicious kind of look. Izuku didn't know what was going on, but was just thrown into a car and just drove off. They drove off somewhere else. Izuku didn't know where the hell they were going. But then Izuku saw a sign going up. Land of the Faith. Orphanage. As Izuku knows that word, he asks why the hell is he going here, and he wants to go back home. The man says, "Sorry, kid. You were sold off here." Izuku says, "Sold off? I am not a fucking..." The man says, "Quiet, kid. Stay." As they started to pull up in a strange place, like a church. As Izuku was forced to stay in the car, the man talked to the other person. He didn't know who it was. As the man then proceeds to open the door and drag Izuku out. Izuku was wondering where the hell he is. And the man threw Izuku towards the floor. Then what seems to be a woman slowly running out of the door, holding Izuku. She then says, "Why the hell will you do that?" The man says, "Whatever. Here's another one. Make sure he's ready." And the woman was, well, she didn't know what to say. The men went back to their cars and drove away. Izuku started to cry. The woman then noticed the whole, bleeding on his forehead and everything, and seems to be on the skull. She then says, "Oh, my poor little angel, what have they done to you?" She then carried Izuku inside, and bandaged him up. Izuku asked, "Where the hell is he?" She then told Izuku everything about how this is an orphanage and how, where people like him, like Izuku, are just sold off by their own parents and to live here and probably get adopted by another, family. And Izuku says, "So I'm not going to be able to see my mom?" Then the woman says, "Sorry, but you won't." "I'm really sorry though." Izuku then says, "It's alright then, as long as I'm not with her." Then woman says, "Well, my name is Maria. What's your name?" "Izuku." "Thank you again." "Oh, you don't have to thank me. It's just my job." Izuku started to smile for once, and, he didn't know where he was, but it felt like a safe place. Izuku then stayed there for a couple months and noticed a couple kids as well. He wasn't alone. He then made friends with them, and Izuku did tell them that he was quirkless and all, and how this orphanage is just cool. They had money, food, water, electricity. It wasn't even an orphanage at this time. It was like a mansion. Izuku didn't know why this place is called even an orphanage. He pictured orphanage as run down and barely get paid. But this wasn't an orphanage. More like heaven. They would mostly pray and everything. Talk about what they're going to do maybe in their future. Izuku stayed there until he was 7. On his birthday, Izuku was allowed to go to the library and pick out a book. Izuku went inside the library and started to choose between books. Izuku picked out one of the books, but then noticed there was something hidden behind the other book, like a secret shelf. Izuku then reached his hand inside and grabbed what seems to be a dirty notebook. Izuku wiped all the dust from the notebook, and it was, a journal. Izuku put the other book back and started to read this one. It was from a girl named Lilith, depicted as a person with silver hair and red eyes, and what seems to be a horn. Izuku didn't know who this Lilith person was, but then started to read. It told how this place works, the orphanage, and how they sold off kids. Izuku knew that, sold off by their parents. But then Izuku read on, and how what happens to the people who are adopted here. They're adopted, then either used to be tortured by other people, or been sold their organs, or maybe even experimented. Izuku didn't want to believe this. He thought it was like a load of nonsense. He didn't see nothing malicious in this place. But then he started to read more and more, and how she was depicted as, well, an angel. She was always nice to other people, and the woman there, named Maria, always called her an angel. Once she found out that, well, she knows everything, it seemed they wanted to make me get adopted. So that was the last of it. Izuku didn't know what was going on. So he started to get more information from other kids who, well, didn't stay there for that long. And started to look into the background of this place more and more. And it was surprising. The nun, the woman known as Maria, is actually a nun there. And he seems to be the caretaker of this whole orphanage. So Izuku sneaked into her room and just read through everything that he thought was important. And what he found out was horrifying. She sells kids over to other organizations. There seems to be creating something. He didn't know what it was, but all it said was a Nomu. And what they do to the children was horrible. Either they rip their stuff out or transform them while they still have their consciousness still intact. This shook Izuku to the core. He didn't know what to feel anymore. Izuku was scrawny. He couldn't fight back. He knew what he had to do. Sooner or later, all these kids are going to get brutally tortured, either physically, mentally, or more. Izuku didn't want to see all these kids just be tortured away. And he knew that he can't tell any of the heroes because, one, they wouldn't believe him. Two, they would think that he would just tell the nun, and the nun would just, well, sell Izuku off to them, like they did to Lilith. And the thought of being in Lilith's shoes was probably horrifying. He didn't know how to save the kids there. He didn't know how to become a hero. And he had friends there as well. Probably his friends would just snitch on him and just tell the nun. So Izuku had only one option. He had to burn the place down. He knew that if he doesn't, more and more kids will get into this, and he will probably be sold off as well. So one night, Izuku went out and went to the storage area, where they had gasoline and many types of flammable objects. Izuku went inside and grabbed all that he could. He then started to pour all around the place, and just made sure everything was very much covered. Izuku then stood by the doorway and lit up a match. He then took a big breath, breathed in, and breathed out. He knew exactly what he's going to do. It was like mass genocide. He was going to kill over 40 kids. He didn't know if he could live through it. He would rather burn inside along with them. But then he started to hear boots clicking. He froze, holding the match in his hand. As the boots started to click louder and louder and louder, he then noticed a nun holding a candle. The nun says, "Izuku, why are you up so late? Come on, let's go back to your room." She then noticed the floor was wet and smelled of gasoline. Izuku still holding the match, still frozen in place. The nun, Maria, then says, "Izuku, what are you doing?" "Angel." Izuku then says, "How many?" She then responds saying, "What do you mean? How many kids to kill off. She didn't know what Izuku was talking about. She played dumb, saying, "What do you mean? Kids? No, they're just giving to other people like family, you know? This place is an orphanage and all." "No," Izuku says. "This is just a farm. We are just the cattle, and you are the shepherd. Look, we are just meat to you, aren't we?" She then says, "What are you talking about, Izuku? Just turn off the match, come back to your room, and we'll talk. I'm sure we can, sort something out." Izuku then says, "No, all these kids are gonna get sold off, probably brutally tortured, and you know that for a fact." She then says, "I don't know what you're talking about, Izuku." Izuku then yells, "Then what's this?" He brings out a check. It was like a $10,000 check from an organization. "This was the same organization as you sold off to the other kids. They told about no moves and experiments, and are you working with them?" Then the nuns start to chuckle a little bit, saying, "To be honest, you're just like Lilith." Izuku's heart dropped. Izuku then says, "What happened to Lilith? What happened to her? She knew what was happening. What happened to her?" The match started to dim. She then says, "Well, she known too much. I had to give her off. Well, she was my little angel, of course." Izuku then says, "Angel? You call yourself a nun? This place is like hell. Now that I know everything, you were just playing off this whole charade, this whole kindness. I don't think that you are not even human. Why? How many? Tell me, how many kids? So far in your life, how many?" She then says, "At least, 100 so far, for the past couple years." Izuku dropped to his knees, saying, "How could you? How could you? Why? For money? Really? You deserve to burn in hell." She then says, "Izuku, calm down. I'll give you some money. How about that? You and me could work together." Unlike Lilith, she tried to take away these kids, and I just had to, alright? I just had to put her in her place. Izuku then says, "Go to hell." He then lights up a match and throws it, lighting the whole place on fire. Izuku runs out, closing the door behind him and putting a whole barricade, making sure nobody leaves. Izuku then stays there, just standing, watching as all the windows burst into flames and everything started inside fire. Everything inside started to go up in flames. He made sure it was at night because that's where all the kids go to sleep. He didn't want to bear hearing their screams, and that's the only thing he could do. This is the only gift he can ever give. So Izuku started to run away. Run as fast as he could, never looking back. And he stumbled, falling sometimes, but Izuku kept running and running and running. He knew where he had to go, anywhere but there. Izuku ran into the city, running through alleyways, exhausted. He then passed out. Slowly, his eyes started to fall. He then noticed a small snowflake fall on his nose. He was leaning against a garbage bag, or garbage, He then noticed some snow slowly falling. He then says, before collapsing in, well, exhaustion, winter is here. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I don't know how long this was. And yeah, please like and subscribe. And bye.